Alright, come join Kyle, John and David as they go through what's on the playlist, find out what's everyone's favourite at Chicken Soup for the Soul Entertainment. We have a few segments, to be honest, in and out points, no celebs and the gossip, back in time where we talk about the big M's, coming attractions, what the cue, quick checks, who'll be laughing, you abundantly. Welcome to Dual Redundancy.
Yes, welcome to Dual Redundancy, the only podcast where you can hear all latest in television and entertainment news with too many hosts with exactly the same opinions. I'm one of those hosts, David Allen, and another one is
John Berwick. Another one is
Kyle Bridger. I would say, is it the summer of '69? No. Is it the boys of summer? Maybe. But it is the box office summer draft. That is what I'm saying. It is.
Yeah, this is what is it? No, it's no longer hot girl summer. It's cool
No.
boy fall. But we got to finish up the summer box office tonight. We're gonna go back and talk about the results of our big draft bet. See who won, made the most money this summer, and we kind of can, recap some of our favorite movies of the summer at the same time. Plus, there's been so much going on in TV and in fall movies we got to talk about. We got some quick checks later on in the program, including Don't Worry, Darling. I braved it. I saw it. I got a review. So we'll talk all about it later. But first, we got this first segment in John. Just what is it?
in and out points.
Yes, it is in and out points. We're going to start off with some TV news. Fresh off the finale of Better Call Saul, we have the latest project from Vince Gilligan. And if that wasn't already good news, it also stars Ray Seahorn. This untitled project has received a 2-season commitment from Apple TV Plus and is described as a blended, grounded genre drama. There's some comparisons to the Twilight Zone, but it's going to be set in a tweaked version of our world, quote, bending reality and focusing on people and exploring the human condition in an unexpected, surprising way. So that really didn't tell us anything.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say that's the vaguest thing I've ever heard in my life.
But I'm in.
Yeah.
I'm in. Sign me up. But yeah, it's just funny because it's like, it's going to focus on people and the human condition. And it's like, yeah, isn't that like TV? Like everything. But okay. No, we're excited for sure. John, you must be over the moon.
Yeah, I'm happy. Let's go. Let's get it out. Saul's done, waiting for the next big thing. Let's see.
I mean, I've been waiting for a new series on Apple TV. I've been burning, Apple's been getting my $5 a month, and I have not been using that subscription at all. So,
yeah, like when they have something that hits, it hits. Severance came along. Okay, here we go. And then it's like, oh, we're in a little bit of a dry spell. Like, What are we doing? We're waiting. Who knows how long this one's going to take? I mean, I'm sure it's going to at least be a year or two before we see anything from this. But with 2-season order there, I mean, that was part of the pitch. I heard it was the project was pitched to 8 or 9 networks. There was a bidding war. Apple TV Plus got the project. I mean, I think they were like, well, if you want this, well, got to give us a season order. You got to, play by all these other rules because he's, this is a hot project. And he will serve as the executive producer and showrunner with Ray Seahorn as the lead. And there's a rumored budget of around 13 to 15 million an episode. That's what he was looking for.
Wow.
And that's kind of high for just TV in general, but specifically like the type of, I think, shows we've come to know from Vince Gilligan. I mean, House of the Dragon is about 20 million, so it's like this is a lot. But
hopefully they keep up that quality cinematics. I mean, that's part of what made that whole universe great, is that not only is the drama great and the acting great and all that, but the cinematography is just like almost impeccable sometimes. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So hopefully that goes into that budget.
Yeah. And Gilligan had a quote here. He said, quote, "After 15 years, I figured it was time to take a break from writing anti-heroes and who's more heroic than the brilliant Ray Seahorn? It's long past time she had her own show, and I feel lucky to get to work on it with her. So,
I mean, hopefully this will give her some more recognition if she's actually the lead star.
Yeah.
I feel like she's undervalued as an actress, but
yeah.
Maybe she just needs a starring project.
Apple TV Plus, that's where it is, and it's great to see all the Saul alums get some of their own shows again. I saw that also that Giancarlo Esposito and Bob Odenkirk also have a drama series in development. They have Parish and Straight Man, respectively, both at AMC. So they got some shows. We got to get Tony Dalton a show. Let's see, Michael Mando.
Yeah, Michael Mando, dude. Yeah. That guy was a killer. That guy's awesome.
So we'll have to wait and see what the next projects for them will be, but I'm excited.
Honestly, with Vince Gilligan coming off Better Call Saul, I mean, even though he's not getting a bunch of Emmys, even though he should be, it's like he really could have pitched anything.
Yeah.
And, gotten whatever he wanted.
Who even knows if like Apple TV Plus even knows what the pitch is? It's like,
yeah.
Oh, Vince, you want to do a show? Okay, you're on. Like, we'll sign.
Yep.
But all right, so that's that. We're going to move from Apple TV Plus to our favorite kind of company to talk about, Warner Brothers Discovery. Now, Apple TV Plus is building its catalog, and who knows, it may be taking some HBO Max content from them, because when HBO Max launched, it was promised that it would contain all of Warner Media's vast library, including properties like Lord of the Rings and DC Comics and Harry Potter. However, as the Hollywood Reporter reported, CEO David Zaslav has a new strategy, including licensing out this precious Warner Brothers IP to other companies. So we actually have a quote from the CFO of Warner Brothers Discovery. He said, quote, "We have a ton of content that has been sitting idly for just purely principal reasons. The Lord of the Rings is a great example. It's a non-exclusive window, and we look at it as what we are giving up versus what additional revenue we are generating." So in other words, it's like, oh, Amazon, you want these Lord of the Rings movies? Yeah, sure, they're ours, and they look good on HBO Max, but yeah, we'll give them to you for a price. What do you think about this, guys? Kind of are they selling off their assets for a little bit?
Are they basically hedging their bets and saying, we think the amount of people we'll lose by losing this is less than what Amazon will pay us for this, or whoever will pay us for this item? That's got to be what they're doing, which, sure, maybe you could get away with that once or twice, but you stack up, and that to me feels like an exponential, loss. I mean, if I find that Lord of the Rings moves, all right, maybe that's not the biggest deal in the world, but I find out that, Lord of the Rings and 6 other movies I like moved, well, that's not just the value of 6 movies, that's 6 movies together, I don't know.
But what I'm gathering from it is not that it's moving, is that it's on HBO Max and
it's
Amazon
shared
at the same time. Is it shared?
I think it would depend on specific properties. I mean, we can see this sometimes with like Harry Potter, where I feel like every 6 or 12 months they're on HBO Max, but then no, they're leaving HBO Max and now they're on Peacock. And then after a year, no, they're back on HBO Max. And to me, this is the biggest issue with this. It's like it creates this kind of like brand confusion when they're trying to launch these streaming services based on the name HBO Max or Warner Brothers Discovery. To many people, they don't know what Warner Brothers Discovery means. And maybe you get lucky and they remember, oh, that's Harry Potter. I see that logo, Warner Brothers. Yeah. And they go to your service expecting that. And then it's not there. Wait, it's on Peacock. And it just creates this confusion, and people just won't know what to sign up for and what, because they don't know who owns what. They don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I get frustrated because I'll think this isn't just exclusive to Warner Brothers, but I'll be like, oh, I remember this movie. Let me go see where it's at. And it's impossible to find. I've got like 5 or 6 different streaming services, and yet I still can't find the one movie that I want. And I think recently I read somewhere that like your old like video store actually had more titles than movie titles than your streaming service does currently. Like it had like upwards of 1,000 or something, and the streaming service doesn't even come close to that. So it's just like, what are we paying for here? I just feel like we can't find what we want to watch. And then when we do get something, like I just saw This Is the End is out on Netflix again, and it's like top 10. And it's like, well, this movie, where has it been for the past 2 or 3 years? It's like everything is turning into Disney's vault, and it just comes out at random because somebody licensed it. You know what I'm saying? It's just such a weird thing.
Yeah. And I personally hate, like, I tried to watch a movie the other day, and it's like, I use my justwatch.com, and it tells me where it is. And, oh, it's on Peacock. I got Peacock. Great. I log in. Oh, sorry. Premium plan has a little feather on it there. This isn't for you. These movies are for you. If you want this movie, you got to get this plan. Oh, you want this without ads now? That's even another plan. Stop it.
Well, it's just I don't know. I think it's just a microcosm of like American capitalism in itself. It's like we're creating tiers. It's like even in our media, we have tiers of this stuff. It's like, well, you have to watch the commercials, and well, you paid for this, so you don't have to watch the commercials. It's just so ridiculous, man.
Less commercials, let's be honest.
Yeah, I know. Yep. You have to watch the commercials, but just ours, the ones that we created.
Yeah. And I saw also that Warner Brothers Discovery is shopping a Batman animated series from J.J. Abrams to other streamers instead of having it on HBO Max. So now it's not even just movies. It's like you want the Batman animated series? Yeah, you can have that. What about maybe someday that they'll make a Harry Potter TV show? Maybe we'll put that somewhere else. Like, it's just like, it's weird because I remember, they're still kind of doing it, but even years ago, Netflix would just like take all these licensed TV shows, Friends, The Office, Arrested Development, all this stuff, because it's like, sure, you can take it. It's just gathering dust on our non-existent platform. And then they built Netflix up into something. And now it's just like this thing where, sure, they're getting money to have them have this content for a little bit, but it's like you're building another competitor. You're building them up. Why don't you build your own thing up and make money that way?
Yeah. I know somewhere in some meeting room, there's a cost benefit board of like, how much money do we get licensing? Because I got to imagine they make a ton off of licensing, but then what's that do to the subscriber base? How much are we really, does it actually cost us more to have this on our servers somewhere? I don't know what it is, but I gotta imagine that people make a ton off licensing, especially now when like the more content you have is seen as better.
Yeah. Well, HBO Max is going to have less and less because they keep selling it off to other people or just getting rid of it entirely.
But I honestly
that's a whole
wonder
other thing.
If it's not an exclusive thing, could they do like a shared thing? Like, oh yeah, we'll have it too, but we'll license it off to you. And we'll share this.
Well,
property
I guess like technically, like there's like the old school mentality of like the network show. Back in the day, like Seinfeld, Sony aired on NBC. I think Modern Family was originally a 20th Century Fox show, aired on ABC, but now ABC owns 20th Century Fox, so it doesn't really matter. And then it's just so it's like, and then I think even Ted Lasso, sure, it's on Apple TV Plus. I believe NBC Sports has the rights to some of it, but then Warner Brothers Discovery actually makes the show, I think. It's like very convoluted. There's a lot of hands in that pot, and it's just but very confusing. Who knows what's on what? I think Warner Brothers Discovery has a few of these movies that we drafted. Maybe they'll end up on HBO Max. Maybe they'll go on a different service. But we're going to talk about the box office draft first. And in order to talk about it, we have to go back. So send us back.
Back in time.
We're back, baby.
Gotta get back in time.
Oh, good. All right, we're going all the way back to the start of our summer box office draft, and that was on May 1st. It's been a while since we did a box office draft. The last one was 2019, but it finally returned this year. It seems a little bit more stable to do it. So episode 381, we held our box office draft for 2022. And to describe it, we'll set it up and then we'll look at the results here tonight. Each host gets to pick 3 movies that opened wide between May 1st and the first day of fall. And the domestic totals will be added up through that day, which was just last Thursday, September 22nd. And this is very important because it's between those two goalposts, because this past weekend, each of us had a film in the top 10, still making a couple of $1 million. So maybe that was the deciding few million between some of the placements here, but only from May 1st through September 22nd. I'm going to set up who picked what first here. Kyle had the first pick. He had, let's see, Doctor Strange in the Multiverses of Madness. That was his number 1 pick. And then when it went around again for picks 6 and 7, he had Minions: The Rise of Gru, and then Lightyear. That was his team.
I had the Tuxedo Clan.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, the Gentle Minions. Yeah. Let's see. I had the number 2 pick, and I went with Thor: Love and Thunder. And then when it went back around to me, number 5, Jurassic World Dominion. And then my last pick, number 8, Super Pets, DC League of Super Pets.
I gotta say, dude, from what I gathered, all those movies stunk.
I'm not looking at Rotten Tomato scores. I'm looking at the box office.
But those things stunk, dude.
Yeah. Let's see. What did John have here? He had the 3rd pick, which means he got the 3rd and 4th pick. Number 3, Top Gun Maverick. 4, Nope. And then the last pick, when it came back around to him, number 9, Elvis. I think those are the 3 films I think wanted to see.
Yeah.
If we're picking a team of wanting to see movies there. Those are a good 3. So those are the teams. And normally we try to go in a certain order to build up to it here, but there's no denying, we got to rip the Band-Aid off. The top story of the box office this summer and possibly the year is Top Gun Maverick. You took it for the 3rd overall, John. This was your first pick. How did you know?
You know what? I remember thinking that the previous one made a ton of money, but I was thinking about Mission Impossible. But I guess it doesn't matter. Tom Cruise is just printing money. That's all. It's just Tom Cruise. It's not Top Gun. It's not Mission Impossible. It's just Tom Cruise.
Yeah, this is wild.
Yeah.
We're going to go through records and stuff here, but just to set it up, it made domestically $710 million, and it's still growing. It's still going.
Mm-hmm.
It's huge. You have it listed here. I'll go through all those stats in a minute, John. But Kyle, what did you think of this box office success story?
I mean, I think we thought it would do well, but I didn't think it would do that well. I think it's a surprise overall. But I mean, you have Tom Cruise. You got the military industrial complex in there. You got what was so great about the movie is that I think no matter who you were, you could be down with this film because even the foes, who were they? We don't know. No one knows. So
really depends on what country it was released in.
It didn't matter who it was. It was just invisible foe. And we had Tom Cruise. I mean, it was good. It was a good movie. Yeah. It made you feel like cinema was kind of back, I feel like, in a way.
Yeah, it was. You had to see this on a big screen. I mean, that certainly helped it. Mm-hmm. Got re-released in IMAX. I think it helped that other films underperformed this year. August just being weak, like there was nothing coming out. So all those factors, I think, really helped it. And going into it, I didn't know how to gauge this film. I mean, the franchise obviously has been off for 30 years. It made 180 million back in the day, domestic, and who knows, adjust that for inflation. I don't know what that number is, but 180 million then. And I was like, okay, maybe I'll compare it to Mission Impossible and even Mission Impossible Fallout, the most recent one, 220 million domestic. This made 710 million domestic, and
Yeah.
it was in the Memorial Day weekend kind of cursed spot right now with Solo, only doing 100 million opening weekend. Pirates 4 was in that spot with like 78 million. It just was in a bad spot. So I'll admit, on my list, I'm like, I had it as number 5 on my original list. I had it one behind Lightyear. That's how off I was with this.
Yeah.
But none of that mattered. I mean, I'll go through the stats now. I mean, it had the biggest Memorial Day weekend with $160 million. It had the smallest domestic drop from the first to the second weekend for $100 million opener. It only dropped like 33%. Most films dropped like 60, 70%. It was the first film since the original Top Gun to be number 1 on Memorial Day and on Labor Day weekend. That means also those number ones mean for the first time since Titanic, it held the number 1 spot in its 15th weekend in release.
That's insane, man. I think word of mouth too helped this thing. I was hearing people talk about it on like different podcasts that weren't even related to entertainment. It was like sports podcasts, like, oh yeah, I saw Top Gun this weekend. It was like, what the hell?
Everyone saw this movie, and many people probably saw it multiple times. I mentioned Titanic. It crushed past the domestic box office of that film and a few more. It is currently number 5 on the all-time list domestically for Star Wars The Force Awakens, Avengers Endgame, Spider-Man No Way Home, Avatar, and Top Gun Maverick. That's your top 5 of all time. It's beating films like Black Panther, Avengers Infinity War, Titanic, Jurassic World, Lion King, Dark Knight. This is huge. The same weekend, it was number 1 at the box office. The film was also already on VOD and was number 1 on iTunes, Google Play, Vudu, like on every service. It's mind-blowing how much money this film has made. It's insane. And it's deserved. It was a good movie. It was a fun movie seeing that in IMAX. But I
thought it would do well, but there's no way I would have thought.
John, you got to admit, you had no idea it was going to do this well.
I chose the 3 I wanted to see because historically, I don't do well in these.
You did well with this one. And I'm going to see. So what we're going to do is I'm going to look at John's other 2 picks here. And then we will see if either Kyle and I can catch up to John with our 3 films.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
I will say, though, so there is a $200 million drop off between picks 5 and 6. So pretty much like what I'm saying is 1 through 5, or at least 2 through 5, are all pretty close. So it's once we get to like 6 is when it's a big drop off. And John's next film was number 6, and it's Elvis. That was the 9th pick overall. It was the last pick in our draft. This was actually my wild card. It was kind of like my number 10 spot. So it was my last pick as well. I was really curious how this film was going to play. Was it going to be the Baz Luhrmann film like Great Gatsby was his last film, 2013, only 144 million? Or would it be the Bohemian Rhapsody of like 216 million? I didn't know, is it Rocket Man, 96 million? So John, what was your thoughts with this? And were you happy with how Elvis did? Elvis made $150 million domestic.
I mean, in the grand scheme of things, that's still a fair amount of money. I mean, it's no, 700 million, but, it's still a fair amount of money. And I think there have been picks in the past that I've chosen that did not get that high at all, but not even close in some cases. So, yeah, it was okay. Maybe there was something that was a little bit better in there, but, it's always a gamble.
I don't think you could have gotten any better at number 9. I honestly don't think.
Probably not.
150. I think I've had picks not at number 9 make less than 150 million. So, I mean, for number 9,
that was the number 6 movie of the summer. It's ahead of a couple other films that we'll talk about. And I just remember when you picked Warcraft?
Yes, I did. and it made $1 billion overseas and like $6.20 here.
Literally like 47 million.
Somebody bought a ticket on discount, and that's all it made.
Yeah, but yeah, it seemed to be about The Great Gatsby in terms of making money, in between the two biopics of Bohemian Rhapsody and Rocket Man, right in the middle there. I originally was worried about like the HBO Max 45-day window for this film, that like, okay, it's going to release, people are going to wait just to watch it on HBO Max. But John, you had even more good luck this summer. They nixed that 45-day thing just starting with this film. And I was like, really? I gotta wait now to watch this movie. But yeah, so that was Elvis. The next film on the list for John was Nope, and that was actually right behind Elvis at number 7 overall this summer. So this was your second pick overall, the fourth overall in the draft, and it was number 7 at the box office. This actually lined up with my number 7, so I actually got one right after being wrong on so many. But yeah, so Nope made $122 million during that time period. What did you think of that, John?
Yeah, I mean, again, it's kind of all a little bit of a gamble. This is kind of a little bit more out there. I think his last couple did about similar, right? His last couple movies.
His last two films, so obviously Get Out and Us were his two films. They made almost identical numbers domestically, 176 million and 175 million.
Yeah,
the
so
two last ones.
I kind of was hoping that maybe with those last two picking up some momentum, it would go a little bit higher. Turns out it didn't. It stayed about the same. And after seeing it, yeah, it's kind of out there. It's kind of a little bit weird. I don't think it did bad for what it is, but I was kind of maybe hoping that it would get a little bit higher than those, build on his previous stuff, and people would want to see it more. But it didn't do bad. But did it do good for what did I do? 7? What 6? What, I don't remember what slot it was.
It was 7 overall for money this summer at the domestic box office.
But it was my 6th pick?
It was your 4th pick.
4th pick. Okay.
It wasn't your 4th pick. It was the 4th pick overall, your 2nd pick.
Yeah.
A lot of numbers tonight. I'm losing it already.
So, that's a little bit lower than I'd like for a number 4 slot in the total, but what can you do? I mean,
hindsight, because I mean, when we're hearing about this movie, when you see the trailer, you're hoping for like word of mouth. You don't know what this thing is.
Flash in the pan.
This could be huge.
Yeah, I'm hoping that it explodes, really.
Yeah, and I don't think the word of mouth was there. I think this is like a very niche movie after people saw it. And I feel like the reviews were very like,
what is this movie trying to be?
Yeah, like
it's a thinker versus a popcorn dinosaur movie.
I don't think it was like a Get Out hit, so I don't think the word of mouth was there. But I mean, the hype was there. I just don't know if the reviews match the hype, and that's what you would hope for with a film like this. And it's rated R, right?
Yeah, it is rated R.
Yeah,
so I could have heard it a little bit. Peele's last two movies were a February and a March release. So this one's obviously in July. So it's like, okay, is it in, the summer? Will it play differently? Will it play like a blockbuster? Will it play like one of his other films? Is it too crowded with people want the Minions and the superheroes in the summer versus, a film like this? It did have the IMAX, the larger format screens. It had pretty much wide open space in July, so I think it probably should have clicked a bit better than it did, but I don't know. I think a lot of people obviously loved Get Out. Us, I think a lot of people were mixed on, so I don't know if that was like, you always see these a little bit later on, like, oh, Us had a huge opening because of how much great goodwill Get Out had. And then it's like, oh, I didn't really like Us. I'll wait to see Nope. And like, it kind of always fluctuates like that. But so those were your 3 films, John.
So if I'm doing the math in my head, he's at like $1 billion.
Close. You're very good, Kyle. 983 million so far for John.
Okay.
He has the number 1 film of the summer and the number 6 and the number 7 film. So there's some spots in there. I will say, Kyle, we both have 2 films in the 2 to 5 spots. And then we also have a film after the 7th spot. So it's
I know it's mine. I know it's mine.
well,
Oh
we'll
my
see.
God.
We'll see. We'll see. So all right here. Let's start off with some superheroes. We debated between the 2 Marvel films, and you made the decision with the number 1 pick. So you made the decision, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness.
And I made the right choice.
You made the right choice. That's definitely true. It was the number 2 film of the summer. It made $411 million. Again, compared to Top Gun, it's 300 million shy of Top Gun, but still $411 million domestically for Doctor Strange. Why did you think this one connected so well?
I don't know. I knew Marvel, man. That's all I knew, is that Marvel is going to do well. I think it got some decent reviews. I even watched this myself. I liked it, and I'm not like a huge Marvel dude. So, I just know that Thor got absolutely panned.
Okay, we'll get to Thor.
I think people are over like Taika Waititi or whatever. And this benefited from, I think it aligned with Spider-Man, right? So, or that multiverse stuff.
So I think that definitely helped it. I think it was riding off the Spider-Man No Way Home buzz of the multiverse, and there was all these rumors of cameos, and are we going to see the next, Mr. Fantastic, or all those, it's just like people wanted to be there to see that, and so I think it was really helped by that. It had a clear path for 3 weeks until Top Gun got in the way. So you kind of like got this start. So it's like, okay, people were dying for a Marvel film, and they spent all their money at the beginning of the summer, and then it wasn't any much left over for the rest of us.
Yeah, and I think that's the way to go with these, because the idea is that these Marvel movies can pick up a bunch of cash along the way, because it always seems to happen, even when we didn't have the option of, like, I think a few years ago, Captain America or Avengers.
Yeah, I think we kicked Avengers out.
Yeah, because it comes in early. You hope it racks up a bunch of cash along the way, and I think that's what my mindset was for this one. And honestly, Top Gun wasn't even on my radar. It was between the 2 Marvel movies, and then it was Top Gun. So there's just no way. I think if both of you were in the same spot as me, you would have chosen the same film. I have no doubt.
And I think I was kind of glad at the time to get the number 2 pick, because I was like, I have it between Doctor Strange and Thor, and I was probably leaning towards Doctor Strange. But like, it was hard to like say what to go off of, because the original Doctor Strange in 2016, it made 232 million domestic. So this one obviously like nearly doubled that number. But if you look at Thor 3, the last Thor film, that made 315 million. So it made more than the last Doctor Strange. So it's like, which one do I go with? And it's like, yeah, this one comes out first, but then the other one comes out like right around July 4th. And it's just like, so I didn't have to make the decision. It was made for me. But here we go. I picked Thor: Love and Thunder. This was the number 5 film of the summer. It was my first pick and the second overall. This one definitely underperformed. It made 343 million domestic. And it's hard to say underperformed with nearly $350 million. But again, these Thor films were picking up. Thor 1 made 180, Thor 2 made 206, Thor 3 made 315. I'm like, okay, well, it's going to be higher than that. And it was, but I was expecting 415 like Doctor Strange here, especially when it looked more colorful and bigger, and just, they had Ragnarok. People love that. Okay, it's goodwill. You got Thor, you got the Guardians crew in this one, Christian Bale as a villain, Natalie Portman's back. This is going to be big. And then the reviews came in, and I'm like, come on. Really? I will say Doctor Strange, I think, had 74% Rotten Tomatoes. Thor, 64%. So I think 65, is that rotten? Like 65 is the cutoff. So I maybe just hit. I don't know. But yeah, what went wrong, Kyle, with Thor?
I think yeah, like I said, I just think maybe people are over that kind of vibe that Taika
Yeah.
Waititi is
Too
putting
much
out.
Taika, is it
Yeah.
maybe? Like he went full Taika and he
Yeah. And I also think it got hurt from bad word of mouth. I mean,
yeah,
everywhere I saw, I was like, this thing stinks. Like,
yeah.
why would I go and watch this? I'll just wait till it comes out. This thing stinks. So that's
Yeah.
just my perception of what I was seeing. But I don't know. I mean, you still make 340 something million. People are going to see it, but
Yeah.
I think if
Yeah.
it was a well-received film, I think you would have seen it battle Doctor Strange for cash.
Yeah, I was really hoping it would, or at least get very close to Doctor Strange, so I could be in that neck and neck, side with you there. But then it's like, of course, as soon as this movie came out, all of a sudden you saw all these like think pieces, and it's like, is there Marvel fatigue? And I'm like, why now? Why couldn't you wait a little bit? Like you couldn't wait 2 weeks for this Marvel fatigue.
Is there Marvel
folks?
fatigue as they announce 85 other projects for Marvel? Get out of here.
Yeah. I will say I have been seeing like people being like this phase 4. We'll have to ask our friends at Good, Bad, and Watchable, especially Nick Boyle. He could tell us. I've heard a lot of people are kind of out on phase 4, whether it's the Disney Plus shows or like the recent like Eternals and Thor and the Hawkeye TV show and now She-Hulk. I heard a lot of people are kind of like,
but I mean, isn't he? They announced a ton more.
Oh yeah,
right.
Oh, it's never gonna end. It's never gonna end.
It's like Marvel's, assistants. Let's check out the assistants to the Marvel characters.
Like, and then soon they'll reboot. They'll start back over from the top.
Oh my God.
But all right.
I gotta say that Hawkeye series stinks. I don't know who's it for, but dude, that thing stinks.
All right, let's do a score check. Let's see where we're at here. Okay. Well, we're getting there. We're picking up steam. Again, John's just under 1 million. Kyle has his 411. I have my 343. I need some big money here. And I will say, Kyle, we both picked 2 Universal films. And in this race, my film topped your film. And that's Jurassic World Dominion. It was the number 3 film of the summer. It was the fifth film picked overall in the draft. So this was a steal. I got it as my second pick, 5th overall in the draft, number 3 of the summer. It made 376 million domestic, 997 million worldwide. So it was just shy of $1 billion worldwide.
Anybody who saw this film never admits that they saw this film.
I actually saw this film.
Went and saw this film? This
I paid my 15 whatever. I had to do something.
My God.
I had to do something to get some money for this draft. But yeah, I was hoping with this, man, that this is okay. It's the final film. I was hoping for the original trio's back. It's the end of the Jurassic saga. The first film in this series, the Jurassic World series, was a phenomenon. It was 652 million. It was a Top Gun Maverick. And then the second film, 416 million. So I'm like, all right, we're gonna at least crush 400 here. And to get this as my second film, the 5th pick overall. So I'm gonna be honest here. Even though it made 376 million, it was the number 3 film of the summer. I wanted more from you, Jurassic World Dominion. And I think it was just because Top Gun was still performing well in its 3rd week. And it was the reviews again, 29% Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah. This thing, dude, I can't believe it even made that much. It
was a Jurassic World film where, spoiler, the big bad was pretty much locusts, was insects. It was like, what are we doing?
Is this the one where they ride around in the little pods?
No, I think that was, they technically ride in the first film in the pods. And then in the second film, I think they go back to the island. And there were some issues and they hide in a pod. So the pods are in a lot of the films, but
the only way you're going to get me to watch this movie is if they somehow ADR Chris Pratt's Super Mario stuff into this movie.
I mean,
I want to hear
that trailer's coming. We're gonna be coming attractions soon on it.
The
But
October 6th, right?
Yeah,
Yep.
bookmark it. We might have to
Yep.
do an emergency pod. But yeah. Oh man, I'm so glad we're done with his hand gesture. Like,
Oh,
enough
yeah.
of that.
No, now we get to deal with
Nothing.
his poor Italian video game voice coming up. So
Then I think isn't he also the new voice of Garfield too? He's gonna be eating lasagna and
who's watching Garfield
hating
in
Mondays but
2022?
yeah. But I don't know who's watching Minions in 2022. I'll tell you, a lot of people. Is the number 4 film of the summer, the 6th overall pick in the draft.
Which, how can you
Kyle's
go
number 2.
wrong with that?
You can't go wrong with that. That was a good one. Let's see, 364 million for Minions. It's the higher end of the franchise. I mean, this is already has 4 or 5 films in the franchise. It made more than the last Minions. It made more than the last Despicable Me 3 films. So you got to thank the Gentle Minions, Kyle. They helped you out.
Yeah, going viral everywhere, bringing it out.
My notes literally were like, I looked up my notes from the draft and I'm like, well, the first movie's in 2010. Will that age group even still care?
Oh, yeah.
Then look, then they're dressing up in suit and ties and going to the film. I'm like, come on.
Yep, they're missing class for it. They're taking class field trips for it.
You didn't feel the same way about Jurassic World, guys? Come on. Dress up as dinosaurs and run around? I don't know, but come on.
So, I mean, to get the number 4 film at number 6, how can I?
That's a good one.
You can't beat that. What can you do?
Yeah, I don't know. But let's do a score check. We got 2 films left. We're getting there. We're trying, Kyle.
Oh, wow.
We're close. So
Dude,
John has
these last 2 are just absolute stinkers for both of us. I swear to God.
So John has 983 million. Kyle has 775 million. I'm close behind you, Kyle. 719 million here. So there's over 200 million between Kyle and John. But there's just about 56 million between Kyle and I. So
how much?
56 million.
Oh my God.
So Kyle and I both have 2 animated films left. You picked Lightyear, which actually wrapped up after just 99 days in theaters.
I know. What an absolute stinker, dude. My bar graph's going to become impotent in just 2 seconds.
My pick, the DC League of Super Pets, is still in this week's top 10, just ahead of Top Gun Maverick, actually.
You gotta be kidding me. It's out on stream it, people. What?
It's still in theaters, still in the top 10.
You're beating a how many month old movie?
Yeah. I'm still there. I'm still making a couple million a week here. Lightyear, though, is Pixar's lowest grossing film ever, except for the COVID onward, abbreviated run they had on that. Well, it made 118 million this summer.
How much? 118?
118 million this summer, which was still 30 million more than DC League of Super Pets with 88 million.
Man.
All right. Wow. Congratulations, Kyle.
Yeah.
Close, but so let's start off with DC League of Super Pets. It's the lowest of the films we picked. It was my last pick. It was the 8th overall pick. It's actually the 12th film of the summer. But it practically tied with 11 and 10, so it's still in the top 10. It's literally like a few $100 difference between those. But okay. I really thought, this was me. I think we all had like a top 8. I feel like 7 or 8 films, and like the last 8, 9, 10, we were all like, whatever. Like we're throwing spaghetti at the walls. So this was a complete let me get an animated film, and I thought, yeah, okay, superheroes, the Secret Life of Pets franchise. The first one did 368 million domestic. The second one not as good with 158 million, but still, if I could get 150 million, I'll take 150 million in the last film there. But I really thought, last kind of kids film of the summer, it's still picking up a few million here or there, but it just wasn't enough. I think it's the dog days of summer, literally. It just was nobody Nobody
Yeah.
cared.
Yeah, it's a tough one. You hope the families come out, and then you have the star power with The Rock and Kevin Hart. But
Yeah.
yeah, man, it's tough. I mean, my film was hit with weird controversy,
Yeah.
so I think that's what killed mine for a little bit.
Yeah, we'll get I got some other theories with yours as well, but with this Super Pets, like I'm gonna be honest, I don't want to be like, crying wolf here, but like I'm like looking, I'm like, there's not much else
Yeah.
I could do. Because if I look, okay, the 11 and 10 films, Where the Crawdads Sing and The Black Phone, those were 11 and 10. They were tied with it. So I call that
You
a
would
draw.
never have chosen.
I
I
would
wouldn't
never
have
have chosen
chosen
this.
those. Yeah.
Bullet Train was number 9 on the list. It made just 10 million more. So what's 10
But
million? Like,
but also that came out after, right?
it might have been, yeah, like it might have been like the week after or something. So it's like a week or two after. Again, who could pick it? But the only option I really had, if I crunched the numbers, because where I was in that spot, the the 8th pick overall, the only film left on the board that made any more money was Elvis. And let's say if I grabbed Elvis before John did, I would still be $25 million short of Kyle. So there was, at that point, I was, drawing water. I couldn't do anything at that point. But
is there
Yeah.
any scenario where either of us could have beaten John?
That I think if like I'm wondering, Kyle, if you didn't pick, it's like a tough scenario to like run because yeah, if you have to go through the order, like because the only films like, because it Top Gun Maverick 710 million, Doctor Strange, boom, 411, it drops off.
Yeah.
And then, at 6 there, it drops again another 200 million to 150. So it's like, what could you possibly do unless I like gave up, a couple minutes into the draft and said, Kyle, take Doctor Strange, Jurassic World, and Minions, and like there's nothing at that point because we were splitting those the number 2 and the number 5 and number 3 and number 4 between us. So it was tough at that point, but yeah, so let's go to Lightyear. We started at the top of the show talking about the biggest surprise of the summer. We got to end with like the biggest bomb of the summer. This was your last pick, Kyle. It was the 7th overall pick. And it was the 8th film of the summer, but this should have been much bigger than it was.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just no question about it. We've already said it's the lowest Pixar film. And I mean, which would also mean it's the lowest in the Toy Story franchise. I mean, in that franchise, it went from 190 for that first film to 245 to 415 to Toy Story 4 making 430 million. This one didn't even get close to hitting the high of the original back in the 90s. So it just was like, it didn't even get the number 1 weekend. Jurassic World beat it. This was number 2 that weekend. So this one really just did not connect with the audience. And you mentioned a bit of the controversy there. And I think there's 2 other things here. I think one, this was a spinoff like nobody asked for. Like Buzz Lightyear, there was a direct to DVD film. I remember like Buzz Lightyear Star Command or something. That was a direct to DVD film. Like this is like a side project. This wasn't a big theatrical film then. And you've gotten the audience, this is my second point, so accustomed that Pixar films are free now on Disney Plus. Turning Red, Luca, Soul. So wait, I gotta go to the theater for this? I'll just wait 2 months and watch it on Disney Plus.
Yeah, all those things. Then you had the former star of Buzz Lightyear coming at the film, and then the other controversy that was happening.
And you just had like also just confusion. Like, no, this isn't the toy. This is the person that the toy was based on.
Yeah,
it's like what?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I think also, like you said, no one asked for this.
But I don't know. It just didn't connect. And but yeah, like this could have been like if this was, I guess we can add it right there. If we added the if this performed like Toy Story 4 with 430 million, you would have easily probably moved past John there.
Yeah.
So, but let's look at the final totals here. John, yes, nobody could catch him in this. 983 million for John. Kyle had 894 million, and then I had 807 million. So
Wow.
we've all had a win before. Kyle had, I think, 2 wins. This is John's now second win. We've also all gotten last place, so we're all.
You guys
all
hear
been-
that? I think I'm editing the Top Gun theme in post right over this.
Oh, really?
I can hear it.
Can we afford this? I don't know. They have a lot of money to sue us now, but let's just for fun. We don't do this. We don't care about the international numbers and the worldwide gross, but let's add those in just to see what films made the most money this
Oh,
summer.
yeah.
There we go, Kyle. Kyle, you actually win with $2.1 billion. I am actually second with 1.94 billion.
Wow.
And then it's John with 1.92 billion. And you can see here on Twitch, it was because, got a film like Nope kind of underperforming worldwide. I mean, Top Gun still made 754 million, internationally alone. They made over $1 billion, $1.5 billion actually.
Nope and Elvis are 2 very American movies.
Yeah.
Very American movies.
I mean, technically, Top Gun Maverick is also a very American movie as well.
Yeah,
we got to add in World of Warcraft.
Yeah, still not gonna win.
No, Warcraft's in there.
Worldwide. No, the worldwide Warcraft is gonna off the chart.
Yeah, but all right, real quick. Any favorite? What was your favorite movie this summer? Is there any contest? I mean, it's what we got.
I think Top Gun was the summer blockbuster movie, man.
Yeah, it has to be Top Gun. I think Top Gun Maverick was. I looked at my Letterboxd scores. Top Gun Maverick was the highest, and then I think I had Nope underneath that, and then the rest really just didn't. I mean, Elvis was okay, but like it just none of the other films really connected with me this summer. But
I mean, Doctor Strange I thought was fine too, but I mean it still felt like a lackluster box office, right?
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with it. I feel like they were still hesitant to put out like a lot of films. I mean, there was weekends where nothing was coming out. I mean, just this last 2-3 weekends, it was re-releases of Spider-Man and Avatar and Jaws, and it's just like there's not much out there, which helped definitely films like Top Gun Maverick. But we'll have to see next summer if they bring out the big guns, the Top Guns. But all right. Let's see, we got a little bit of time, not much, but we got a little bit of time to talk about 3 very big kind of properties, some possible franchises in all of them. In order to talk about them, we're going to just do a little quick check. And we did summer movies. Let's talk about a fall movie first. Don't Worry, Darling. It dropped at the box office on September 23rd. It's the #1 movie this weekend. 19.2 million it made over the weekend. We talked about Spitgate in the last episode, but now it's finally actually time to talk about the film. A housewife living with her husband, Florence Pugh and Harry Styles, respectively, in a utopian experimental community, begins to worry that his glamorous company could be hiding disturbing secrets. So I saw this film. I went to the theater and saw this film. I went in with pretty low expectations after all the drama and all the reviews. And I will say, from a movie-going experience, it isn't that bad. It's not The Room. It's not like a complete train wreck. There's good production design. I would love to live in that world and the costuming, like live in that world as in the architecture, not the rules of society. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
But the score and like there's some of the performances, especially from Florence Pugh. I liked what Chris Pine was doing. So there's some good stuff there. The issue though is with the story. It's a very basic story. I'm going to keep it very vague and spoiler free in this quick check, but there's early comparisons in the trailer to Stepford Wives, and there's a wild twist at the end of this that I won't say, but when it happens, you're like, really? and it just opens up a lot of plot holes, and you start thinking about it, and then the strings are unraveling, and you're like, wait a minute here. And I think, again, it comes back down to the script and directing. Olivia Wilde's in this film as a supporting character. I never not saw Olivia Wilde, and I don't know if it was just the outside drama of it all, but there's points I forget. Florence Pugh, I sometimes even forgot it was Harry. Like, I never forgot like it was her. Maybe it was just like, it was just hard to separate the two. And there was a lot of points in the film I just felt like it was being artsy to be cool. Like, there was a lot of what I call like now like trailer moments in the film that like are just 100% unnecessary, like sprinkles, just to wait, why is this why did you do it that way? Why was that aesthetic there? Why was it edited in that way? Oh, because it would look cool in the trailer. That's why you did that. Like, it has no actual reason in the story.
But sorry, can I just say, like, people have trailer moments all the time that don't end up in the film. You can just shoot you shoot it and just put it in the trailer, and then it's like true. That happens all the time.
That is true. So I'm torn to like, it's definitely not the like the train wreck that like the reviews made it seem, but it's also not. It's not great. It's I mean, it's so it's like this weird in between. I am keeping it so spoiler free because I'm dying for you guys to watch this movie. I really want to talk this film with you, Kyle.
Yeah,
so at some point I need you to see it,
and
so we can really break this thing down, because there's a lot to say with this, with a spoiler review. Maybe next week we can do like a spoiler review of it, but that's Don't Worry, Darling. John, what do you got?
I have the next season of Industry.
Season 2.
So yeah, season 2. Unlike David, I will be discussing a little bit of spoilers. So fair warning. This season follows the crew from the previous season. There is a big time jump from the last season. We're now post-COVID, if you want to use that term. You can debate whether that's true or not, but we're post that. We find Harper like reintegrating into work because she has been working from home for so much longer than everyone else, home being a hotel. And her issues rejoining the group, her issues with Yasmin as they kind of start making up maybe from the previous season where their threesome kind of exploded and ruined all three of their lives. And she meets Mr. COVID, who got really rich on the forefront of COVID and is vying for her position as I guess his financial handler, as well as they're maybe closing the office and moving some people to New York, and is that gonna happen? Do they have jobs? It eventually leads to her and a couple other of the group trying to branch off on their own. Are they successful or not? And then what I didn't like is the show is a little bit of a slow burn. There's some interesting moments and stuff, but I felt like the last episode really ramped it up and really pushed cliffhangers onto everybody, which I liked the cliffhangers. I didn't like that they did that. I kind of wish there was a little bit smoother of a build to it and all that. And I think as of right now, season 3 is not yet confirmed. They're trying to write it, but they don't have that season 3 on the books, which maybe is why they push so hard for these cliffhangers. But if we don't get a season 3, then it just kind of all ends in a weird, like, everybody has a cliffhanger. Like, everybody has a cliffhanger. So what's going to happen? So I enjoyed it. I'm not saying I didn't enjoy it, and I would recommend it, but I do have some nitpicks.
Yeah. So I will say, overall I liked this season. There was definitely a theme with like kind of relationships, the power balance, and how all these lines blur. Whether it's Yasmin and her new boss, Robert and his new client, Gus and his kind of tutor boyfriend, Harper with DVD, Harper with Bloom, Harper with Eric. There's a lot of relationships going on in this show, and we get this big moment at the end, which I will spoil real quick here. I'll get your thoughts on it, Kyle. Eric fires Harper, and it's like, well, is he doing it for her own good? I mean, she did end up doing some insider trading. It's not doing good there, but or is it like, or is he now kind of playing just like her? Like, no prisoners, no friendship in this industry. I will play just as cunning as you are. What did you think of that move by Eric at the end there?
Yeah, I mean, the move was something I totally forgot. Like it was that little,
Fake transcript
yeah, that
from SUNY
Chekhov's
Binghamton
gun
there.
that was forgotten about, But I think this whole season is summed up by Eric saying with that quote of, "Isn't it great how no one's ever satisfied?" Because she eventually trusted him, and everyone is out to get each other. And even like Rishi having sex with Harper makes it seem like he even knew this might happen. And like he was like Harper thought she was screwing Rishi over, but really it could have gone the other way around. And it's like you look at that scene a little differently, and it's like, wow, this is wild. But it's hard to feel bad for Harper when
it's all her
she's doing. She was the queen
Flew
pin
too
of
close
this
to
whole
the
thing.
sun. Yeah.
She's playing the card she dealt herself.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't get any more. That's what's happening.
Yeah. So I just think it's a lot of this is this industry as a whole, backstabbing each other, and you can't ever trust Eric. I don't know why you would ever trust Eric in a million years. That guy is totally about himself.
Yeah.
And in fact, the person that she probably could have trusted in DVD, she blew that thing up.
Yep.
That was probably one of the only people she could trust.
Yeah.
And all his responses like, "Don't F me over." And because I think like he legit in his own weird way cared about her. And she was all about herself and couldn't. Yeah. So I really enjoyed this season. I think it's way over the top.
Yeah.
I think even
definitely.
in the final episode, like it's compelling TV where we have Bloom texting her on live TV. It's like, all right, dude, this is just too much. But
they somehow do it. I don't understand half the stuff they're doing. I still don't understand shorting stocks, but they made it riveting television.
Yeah.
Like her tricky hand gesture there where she like changes it at the last second. And like that was, I think that was in the GameStop episode. And it was, I think my favorite episode of the season. One of my favorite moments was that whole, the tension that they can build in those moments. But
I mean, they do a great job. And I think even the music plays a part in it.
Yeah.
Because like the soundtrack is subdued, but it ramps up that level and you're like, wait, what's going on here? And I think what the show does really well is in those moments of like, what the hell is happening financially? They'll like go cut to like a back room where like people are like back and forth. And it's kind of like explaining what just happened, even if you didn't understand it in that moment. But it gives you the thing where like, if you do know what's going on in this world, you know it here. And then now you're getting it further in depth here. But for people that don't know what's going on in the moment, it gives you that back channel of like, oh, here's what people are conniving and trying to work the angles,
Another thing I really liked was the background chatter.
Yeah.
But it was mixed very hot, so you could always hear it. But
I always had my like
subtitles on.
Subtitles on, because sometimes with the accents and the stuff, I have to be able to
just
hear it. You can always like see it, like you see the lines, like who's saying that?
Yeah,
like it's some random. It's good.
At least when I listened to it, it was mixed pretty hot, so you'd always hear like very clear, like who gives an F about meme stocks, like
Yeah.
So I really like that. It hit, and they hit a lot of those, the meme stocks, the GameStop stuff, cryptocurrency and all that, which is all very relevant in the last year or so. So that really kind of grounded it in its time. Again, it's pretty much playing out in real time, it seems like, since the first season was where it was, and now the second season's post-COVID about where we are. So I thought that was very, very good.
I also like that they don't always get their way. So like the
Mhm.
moment Daria comes in, and you're like, if you forgot about that girl
Yep.
meeting with the show when they meet with the Shogun or
Mhm.
whatever, and they come and Daria comes in, and you're like, oh shoot, man,
Yep.
her. I forgot about her. She's got
Mhm.
her coming back,
All right, so that was industry. Season 2 wrapped up there. We have a new show, or I guess a show it has come back. So one show ends and our show begins. Kyle, that's your quick check.
Yeah, so I'm talking about Atlanta. There's 3 episodes out. I'm about 2.5, so I've watched half of the third episode. But what I will say is, going back to last season, I think we had these standalone episodes that I think we wanted the crew back together, and now we in this new season we do have the crew back together. And it's like we're back in Atlanta, but have they outgrown Atlanta, or is Atlanta not the same as when they came back? And I think that's what the first episode kind of touched on. They're kind of being having to reconcile with exes, and this crazy white lady going after Darius, which is just an interesting interesting moment. And it's always talking about the greater societal impact that black people are having to deal with in regards to like white people and just that impact of that. But I did enjoy the season premiere. The second episode was really like a pounding to the chest, because I think it really changed your interpretation of like what Earn is capable of. Like he really, there's 2 sides to this, because it's like, oh, well, this is something that like black people have to deal with on a daily basis, but also the stuff that he's supposed to be working on in therapy, he absolutely goes against and ruins this lady's life. And it's like, well, it really
He
leads
has
it
money
up to
now.
like,
Like he can do crazy
yeah,
Willy Wonka type things here.
yeah. So, yeah, that was really like a makes you think episode. Like, oh man. But this third episode, which I'm halfway through, what I think is hilarious is the YWA, the young white avatar, because it's something that I have been like thinking about for like rap for the past 10 or so years. It's like you have these young like white people that don't like aren't respecting like the rap from previous generations, and they're just using it for clout, and they have nothing to say, and the music is awful, and they're just going off the backs of like rappers that have really put in the work. And it's a shame when you have like Paperboy, who's really like lived this life, and he's trying to make a name for himself, and he's talking about doing the work. I'm out on tour. That's how I'm going to get my, money. And they're like, ha ha ha, like laughing it off. Like that's not how the world works anymore with social media and all this stuff. I'm excited to see where the episode ends, but it really, really shined a light on something that I think is just pervasive in social media now, especially with music and stuff like that. So I'm excited. The crew's back.
Yeah.
I like it that way.
I agree. So far I'm enjoying it a bit more than I like season 3, but I didn't love season 3 because there was one too many one-offs, and I enjoy having, I want my core 4. And so far we've gotten that. As you mentioned, the premiere episode was like a Black Mirror mixed with a Seinfeld episode. They were lost in a parking garage, and we had even the Kramer, the Darius holding a large box as he's going through the parking garage. Like, I see what you're doing there, what you're comparing the show to and bringing it back to. And but yeah, it's like, Atlanta is hard to describe, where you got these episodes that are grounded but also mystical. They don't hold your hand with details, where there's been plenty of time jumps in between seasons, in between these episodes. Like, things happen and they just don't, hold your hand and say, this is when this is like, and there's a joke in the third episode. We'll have to talk offline yet, Kyle, if you've gotten to it yet, that made me like really laugh out loud during, but we'll get to that in a bit. But yeah, so that's Atlanta. That started back up. I'm excited to see where that season goes. And next week, we got a return of another show. It's been a while, and hopefully we get a chance to talk about it. Is Rami. Rami's coming back.
Yeah.
So maybe look at Rami. There's a show called Reboot on Hulu. If not, we got fall movies. If Kyle sees Don't Worry Darling, maybe we'll do a spoiler review of that. So there's plenty of options of what we could talk about next week. To find out what we do talk about, make sure you're following us on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, the blog, doredundancy.com. We are live Monday nights on Twitch, twitch.tv/doredundancy, 8 p.m. Eastern. You can follow us on Twitter and on Instagram at Dual Redundancy. I got to thank both of you guys for joining me tonight, for doing the summer box office draft with me, for having some great quick checks. We ran a little long tonight, but I think it was worth it after taking last week off. I thank both of you guys and for John getting the episode up on Apple Podcasts and on YouTube.
Yep.
All right. Until next time, I'm David Allen.
I'm John Berwick.
And I'm Kyle Bridger.
And that's all we got for Dual Redundancy. Goodbye, everybody.